everybody. Welcome
What's
to
up?
episode 2 of Sports Floss Gloss. And first, we just want to open up and say thank you to everyone who tuned in for our first episode. We had almost 100 views, 80, 90, 100, somewhere in there. So I just want to thank you so much for being so supportive. And we're going to continue to build on this thing and make it even better as we continue. Right, Kim?
Yep, I agree. We appreciate the love that y'all showing us early on. We hope to continue to grow our audience, keep some good content coming your way. And we're just excited to see where this journey takes us. So thank you so much. And we will dive right in. Before we do, I want to introduce everyone to our local mascot.
Yes.
This is Tommy back here. Tommy's hanging out, looking over my shoulder, making sure everything's going the way it's supposed to go. So he will be with us every episode. So shout out to Tommy for staying strong.
Hey, Summer.
And other than that, yeah, what's up? Look at him. He's out there chilling. He's too cool for us. He's got the glasses on.
Already ready for
he's
winter.
royal. yeah, he's ready. He's ready. So anyway, without further ado, let's dive right in. And I know that Nevette wants to kick us off with an article that she read here recently. So I'll let her get into that.
Yes. So in the local Alabama news resource outlet called alabama.com, there was this article that they posted last week talking about, do women view Alabama football differently than men? And I was like, that's kind of a random title for one thing. And then it just, I thought it was just pertinent given that we started this this podcast about Black girls loving sports. And so here's this article about how women view football. And just in general, I thought that it applied to us. And just some things that I know, like over the course of time living, about how I've been treated as, or not treated as, someone who's knowledgeable about sports. And that's one thing too I've learned, is that it's my trigger. Is when I'm overlooked in a conversation.
Yes.
You can be in a group setting.
So true.
And the first thing dudes want to do when they deflect, they go back to a setting is they default to talk about sports to any other dude nearby. And a girl could be standing right by me and and just overlook, not even just assuming that I'm not interested, that I don't want to talk about, or I have no idea what they're talking about. And most times I know way more than they do. And then the competitive person in me and the petty person in me has to show them up with the facts that I know and politely show them up and sit them down, because they don't know what they're talking about.
Right. You can exactly show them up and then ask them, or tell them you can have a seat.
Yes.
I completely agree with that. I think anytime you get in situations that is a kind of easy go-to for guys, it feels like more so than women. Because I am such a huge sports fanatic, so not just one particular sports, but all sports.
Yeah.
It's a go-to for me if I can find someone, who seems to be interested and into it. And so I don't make any assumptions that the guys in the room are going to like sports. I don't make any assumptions that the women in the room are going to like sports. It's just, okay, if it comes up and there are people who are engaged in the conversation, I'm going to acknowledge everyone that's in that setting who is engaged in the conversation and not make assumptions about who can talk and who can't. And I very much like you. Like, I try not to be petty, but if you're going to come for me and assume that I don't know what I'm talking about, then I'm going to start hitting you with like real facts and stats and things that you can Google and look up and fact check and say, you know what? She knows what she's talking about. And it goes beyond just, this is my opinion. No, this is the facts. This is the stat line. This just is what it is. So I've done that on a number of occasions. But kind of to get to what the article is saying, is like, is there a situation where we just look at what's happening differently? And I think there is a stigma that women, to your point, don't know what's going on. So if we get invited to a football game and we go, we're just out there and we'll clap when everyone else claps around us, or we cheer when we think the team that we're cheering for or rooting for to win does something good. And in between whistle blows, like, we don't know what's going on. We're just
right.
Right. And I feel just out there. Go ahead.
Yeah, in those situations, I always feel like I have to overdo it things just make you feel like, oh, I know what I'm talking about. I'm a woman, but I know.
Exactly. And I can be a part of the conversation. I agree with that too. You kind of feel like you have to overcompensate for someone else's inability to recognize and acknowledge that you are fully capable to participate in a conversation that they're having. So I'd like to say that I watch a football game or a basketball game, baseball game, whatever the sport may be, the same way that anyone does who is knowledgeable about the sport, right? Because I think there's something to be said. Like, I can watch a baseball game with my boyfriend differently than he can because I know more about what's going on. And that's simply because I grew up playing softball and he grew up playing football. That doesn't mean he doesn't know anything about baseball. He does. But when you start to get into kind of rules and why they're having shifts when this person comes up and to bat and things like that, those things just don't clearly make sense to people who just aren't familiar with the sport. And it's not a guy-girl thing. It's just, I'm familiar with it, you aren't. So that's how I look at it, that I'm watching the football game the same way that you would watch it, Nevette, in the same way that someone else who's really into it. Now, am I watching it with the same eye that maybe Peyton Manning is watching it? Well, maybe not, right? Because he's a professional, and there's certain things about the position and just from the years of experience that he's just going to see that I won't capture because I don't have that experience. But as a fan, I watch it as a fan who knows what the rules of football are and knows when people are doing things well and knows when they're not doing things well.
Yeah, you can see mistakes when they happen, and you can see luck when they happen,
Exactly. But it can be frustrating, like you're saying, just that being a woman who really loves sports, because so often people just assume certain things about women that either they're not supposed to or you don't.
I mean, come on. I mean, how this is 2019, people, so that's our timer tell us we all the time. It's 2019. So you can safe to assume that a woman may or may not like sports, but just don't automatically overlook them. That's the key thing. Engage them in conversation. And then it's kind of demeaning when you overlook them anyway, to feel like they're just not smart enough to understand it. So
exactly.
So let's keep it moving. So to our next topic, we got to follow up some things that we talked about last week and talk about some things that we saw this week. So college b-ball, and I think, if my memory serves me correctly, that one of us is predictions and one of us is not. Oh,
well,
I'm the 2-0.
Well, I would just like to say it's a long season. All right. I've got plenty of time, but I would tip my hat that I'm not wearing to you. Good job in your pick. I tried to roll with Michigan State, and they tried sort of to not let me down, but Kentucky played really, really well, and they just did not play well enough to keep up with them. So kudos to Nevette for the early lead, but watch your back. The way Tommy is watching mine, because I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, Tommy's looking kind of scary back there, like a bodyguard.
He is, like a bodyguard. That's what I'm going to say.
But, I mean, as long as he's over there, not over here, we good.
All right, well,
we're going to be friends, though.
No, I'm on my way. I'm on my way.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
He's okay right now. He's happy. That's him smiling. That's his happy face.
Yeah.
You don't want to see him when he's angry.
Okay. Right. Yes. I mean, if that's a changeable phase. If it changes, I would be.
Hey, if it changes, I'm out. I'm not even logging out. I'm just
like, maybe I should. I'll call it
back here. Yes. Please, you call. I'm gone. You can stay, but I got to go. So if you see him move, you let me know.
Right. Yeah.
And we'll talk later.
I pray for you. Pray for you.
I don't have time for that. Please, amen. I accept all prayers, please, and thank you.
Right.
God is good.
All the time. So
and all the time.
God is good.
Amen. All right.
Amen. Hallelujah.
Mm-hmm.
So
all right. So yes, you want to talk about what you saw in that game? Some positive takeaways that you saw. Just again, early
Michigan from our game or from the second game? Our game, meaning
let's, of course, our game. Yeah, let's start with ours, and then we'll go into the Michigan State.
Yeah, and you know, we've talked about this because we test constantly throughout the game. But both of us agree that this year our calling card is going to be defense. I'm pretty like
Absolutely.
The team has pretty much taken on the identity of Trey Jones, which has its pluses and its minuses. Pluses that we're going to be really good defensively, and the minuses that we can't shoot from the perimeter. So at least that's what it is for now. There's still time for us to develop a consistent and a rhythmic offense where they know who to go to at certain times. I think they definitely need to make sure that they game plan for Matthew Hurt. He's going to be our most consistent scorer. So we have to move the ball through him. I know Coach wants to have a balanced offense this year, but we still need a go-to person who we know who's going to give us buckets in a time of need, and I believe he's going to be that person. And in terms of Kansas, I mean, we beat them. They had 28.
Yeah. I don't have nothing to see here. Yeah, I agree completely with everything you said. I'll not repeat much of what you said, but yeah, we're gonna have to have somebody that we can go to when we're in situations where we need to score. And I think Matthew Hurt is that person. As we saw, I mean, Alex O'Connell can knock down shots. He's capable of it. Joey Baker is capable of it. It looks like Coach K doesn't quite trust him on the defensive end yet, so he didn't play in that game. Yeah. Jack White, if he can get back to how he was shooting the first half of last season, then he's someone that we can. But who knows? I mean, at this point, it's probably just something that's in his head. But I agree with you. We're going to have someone who can score the ball. But also, to your point and your credit, it's early in the season. They're not the team that they will be. Something that one of my all-time Duke players, favorite Duke players, we'll get into it a little later, has said in an interview. Is just talking about someone asked him, you know, who he was as a player or one of his favorite quotes, something like that. And he said that he's always becoming. So even with all of his years of experience, I'm still becoming, I'm learning. And I think truest form of that word, they're still becoming the team that they're going to be when the postseason comes around. So I think they'll get there. Yeah. I just think we've gotten a little used to our freshmen coming in and being ready and playing pretty well, very well for some of them, especially last year's team. Yeah. So, you know, we're just going to have to work a little more at it. But I like what I see on the defense. I'm okay with watching a gritty, you know, in your face, rough, having to grind it out Duke team. I like it. I think it adds
I just don't want to be like scared every time they come down to offense. Like, yes.
Yes.
Like, exactly. Are we going to score or not?
Exactly. Especially when you start getting into the heart of the ACC. It'd be nice if we could play a couple of conference games and not be stressed the entire time. Right. You know, some of the games obviously are stressful, but
I think
every time you play like Carolina, I think there's always a certain. Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Florida State, Louisville. So, yeah.
And Florida State just beat Florida.
Right.
Who has Carrie Blackshear? Yeah. Twinkle Toes.
Yes.
Look, seriously, you need to, if you haven't seen it, you need to just watch this kid play basketball because literally his heels never touch the floor. Free throws, they're just like this. These are his feet. One of them is like really jacked up. So this is his heel where my wrist is. One of them is really jacked up. And the other one, I'm serious. You just got to watch it. It's super exaggerated. He never puts his heels, even when he comes down from a jump shot, just lands on the toes. Just like
all right. So sorry. Let's talk about Michigan State.
I'm sorry.
Kentucky. Well, Kentucky definitely has the run and go freshman this year.
Oh, absolutely.
So you know, I mean, and I'm trying to think about where they're going to get some type of competition in the SEC this year, and
Florida
just got.
They did.
They got ran out their gym by an unranked Florida State team. So I'm like,
well, you know, maybe they're still becoming too. Let's just give them a.
All right. So,
but that's a good point. Beyond that, I'm trying to think, and I can't. I know Alabama was good
Alabama's
last year,
starting
but I don't
over
think they have
scratch.
much of.
They got new coach, and
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Auburn is going
Okay,
to
so
be on a downturn.
a
I'm
similar
not sure about.
situation.
Yeah, well, we'll come back to that later.
That
SEC.
well, that's kind of typical. I mean, that's football country. They don't typically have. Yeah, I mean they just do okay typically basketball season, other than the one or
Kentucky.
two that stand out.
I
Yeah,
mean, they have
so
Kentucky.
pretty much you're right, Kentucky, and that's it. That's kind
And
of like the ACC with football, Clemson.
yes, and then
And
sometimes they
Clemson.
might surprise you with other teams.
Yeah,
Like Auburn made it to the Final Four.
every now and then. Yeah, Florida's. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Auburn. You're right. You're right. It's one of those types of deals, though.
Like,
So I agree with you. I think they'll have they're young, so I'm sure they'll go through some growing pains, but I think they'll do pretty well and won't be heavily challenged in the SEC. I think it's really gonna for them once they get to postseason play and you're actually playing against other quality teams. How do you perform and the way that
they do play against Louisville yearly, so that game.
Oh yeah, so that'll help. That'll be a really good game because Louisville is looking good in the early goings. But I think there is something to be said about how they handled this opening game. It's against the number one team in the country, and this was first game out. So you think about them having a year's worth of work under their belt, and then you get to postseason. So I think they're going to be shaping up to be very, very quality and be able to make a deep run in the tournament at the end of the season. So I'm looking forward to it. It'll be fun to watch.
I think this year Calipari was able to game plan better because they were game playing against a veteran Michigan State team. They had tape on them that they could see. So last year when they played Duke, they had no idea what was coming at them, and they got a fistful of Zion.
A freight train.
So the question on everyone's lips, everyone's talking about who's going to fill Zion's shoes this year in college basketball. Do you think there's anyone out there like that, Kim?
I don't. Well, so no, not like Zion. Absolutely not. I mean, he's one of those kind of, I hate to say once in a generation, because I think the talent and the quality that you see is turning over a little more quickly than it once was. So I don't want to quite put him to that, because I think we will get someone at some point, but I don't think it's going to be really relatively soon. I mean, the things that he's able to do at the size that he is and just create all sorts of mismatch problems for all sorts of players. Someone that is not one-dimensional but has so many facets to his game. Obviously, he's still young and he still has a lot that he can do to improve and to grow and get better, especially now that he's in the NBA and he's not playing around with little boys. I hate to say it that way, but it was like a man amongst boys is what it was last year. So I don't think there's going to be anyone that's nearly as multidimensional, as dynamic, as explosive. And then too, the other thing, just so much fun. Yeah, and just so much fun, so humble, down to earth, just wants to be out there to support his teammates, his brothers. And it was never about him. Every time you hear him, even still now, he's always focusing the attention on other people. And so that was talking to people who do not like Duke, because there are many of those around, but talking to them,
the uninformed,
it was always interesting because the uninformed, it was always interesting because they would say the tough part about him was that they couldn't hate him, right? And usually Duke has one of those players who's crazy good, but something about their swag and the way they their drip and the way they carry themselves, people are like, oh, but I hate him. And you couldn't. He was so likable that everybody wanted to see him play. So I think it's going to be tough to find that type of a person again. I will say, I know that's our timer, but I will say the one person that caught my attention early was Cole Anthony.
Unfortunately.
I thought that, unfortunately, he plays for UNC, but I'm going to give credit where credit's due. And I thought he did a very good job in his first couple of games, and he was exciting to watch. So we'll see how that goes. And I'm excited for a Cole Anthony-Trey Jones matchup. I will say that. The defense versus his offense. I'm excited to see who's going to win out on that. That'll be fun.
And I think Cole has a little extra length on him than Trey does. So we'll see. I think those are second warning. So and also just want to put out there too about James Wiseman there in in Memphis. and about, you know, all the things going on with his eligibility. Like this is like, it's a lot of eligibility, like stories going around the NCAA. But just to see what's going to happen there, and especially because like, I mean, Penny Hardaway is really buying into Memphis being the Fab Five. Like they kind of, except for their court is making, I can't watch the, I feel
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's too much.
and
Figure
like
it
it gives,
out.
you know, it gives me a headache. I can't even, yeah.
Yeah, figure it
Like
out. I
even
don't
the
like it
bones,
either.
like ugh, okay, but okay. So college b-ball, so lots of things to look forward to. I mean, I think the field this year is going to be wide open, not like last year where, you know, pretty much everyone was like chasing Duke, and then, but but anyway, here nor there.
They
But I
called
think
us.
there's a clear,
They called
there's
us.
a clear like front runner right now in college basketball, so that it should be exciting when it comes to March, how things lie.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. I think, obviously it's always exciting. You have the Cinderella stories, those sorts of things. But I think this year, extra bump to that excitement for the very reason that you just said. There's not this clear-cut team that everyone is kind of put on the pedestal of. That's the team that we're trying to get past.
Yeah.
So
All right.
I'm looking forward to it. All right, we ready to transition? Was that our official timer? Has that gone off? I think it did. Okay,
Yep.
I thought so. So yeah, we'll roll right into the NBA here and talk about some things. A couple things are sort of follow up. We didn't get into it too heavy, but the first thing that we'll point out here is all of the craze around this load management conversation that's going on. I know we pointed out because we talked about Kawhi sitting out that game 3 against the Jazz, and has since set out another couple of games. And so it's interesting because they started saying, well, it's not just a load management. He's within the NBA's seating policy and things of that nature. And then there's this revelation that he has some sort of knee injury, lingering type of issue. Yep. And so because of it, he is unable to play back-to-back games. So now you're talking about the NBA and their money. So you're in their pockets because it's interfering with nationally televised games. And then he's not playing. So you talk about the money maybe that the independent fan bases, or not fan bases, but rather programs, organizations are supposed to be getting, and he's not playing. And so you talk about that. But then a few days later, you have the coach of his team, Clippers Nation. I know you're a big supporter of Nevette. Ooh, yeah, right. But you have Doc Rivers coming out and saying, well, he feels great. He's doing fine. He doesn't, essentially saying he's not injured.
Right.
So now it's just this kind of interesting conversation because you have all of these players who, I would say, much to kind of make a point that links back to what you were just saying at the end with the college basketball thing, is I think because of how the NBA talent dispersed during this past offseason, it's a similar thing where you don't have the Golden State Warriors that everyone's trying to chase down because they have a super team. You now have 5, 6, 7 teams, whatever the case may be, that have these two superstars and pretty good complementary players around them, and who is going to have the edge and where are we going to be at the end of the season. So what you have are all these teams, and by all, I mean, really, I'm only mainly talking about this one, but you have Kawhi, who maybe is trying to set the temperature or the gauge for what we're doing and managing these star talent, because when we get to the postseason or close to postseason, we want our star talent to be as fresh as possible. And of course, LeBron, I don't know if you want to touch on that, your boy at the Lakers, my boy too. I really like LeBron. I'm a huge LeBron fan. I really am. I just, had to make my pick the way I made it. But, he said, if I'm playing, if I'm healthy, I'm playing, right? I'm not this load man. Basically, this load management is a bunch of crap. So if I'm not hurt, I'm going to be on the court. Do you want to talk about the King and his comments?
Well, I guess I should preface that I am a Lakers fan. And LeBron came to the Lakers. Let's just put it.
I got you.
I have to. I mean, of course, I want him to do extremely well because I want to win. But so yeah, that's another story for another day.
I hear you.
But then, so one thing about LeBron too, he has a short memory. I guess he doesn't recall that when he was in Cleveland, that he was one of the main load management candidates in the NBA. I remember one game when they played Memphis, he didn't play, and when the Cavs were traveling to Memphis, and there was just a big uproar about it because in a small market like Memphis, like when you have a marquee name like LeBron, that's what the people come and see, because they don't get to see that every day in a small market. So that people, when they put out the NBA schedule, they circle the big games with the big names, and so I can't believe he said that the other day. So I was like, am I the only one who remembers this? Okay, no one called him out on it. Okay. I guess that's what happens when you're the king. People get scared to call you out about stuff. But yes, so, and then also James Harden also came out and said, have I ever seen me sit out a game? Okay. So
well, he also, never mind. Go ahead.
What you about to say about old James?
Well, I was just going to say, he also hasn't really been in the conversation for talking about making deep postseason runs. I mean, he I guess kind of has, but for the most part, right, since he's been at Houston up until this year, it was just him. I mean, that's not true. You had Chris Paul. So, you had Chris Paul there, but no one was really concerned in beating Golden State. So
people who I just thought they can do it.
I mean, I think there's some. I agree. There's some people who thought, but
like people from Houston.
Thank you.
Hey, Gerald.
Exactly. Gerald. Hey, Gerald. Hey, Gerald. This one's for you. But yeah, like I just think, he hasn't been on the teams where you're looking at them, and especially not at this point in the season, right? So if we're going to try, or even midway to make the comparison when you talk about LeBron in Cleveland, that him sitting out some games for that very reason, I don't think that they were ever really in a conversation early on in the season on a team that he played for. Maybe back early when he was at OKC. And Russell was there, but at that point, not really, and two, even if there was he wasn't the player that he is now. When he and Russell Westbrook played together before,
yeah,
exactly, exactly. So he was sixth man. He's coming off the bench, so it wasn't a situation where you were worried about his load. You weren't worried about his load. So that's my take on it. For him to come out and say it, that's great. No, we haven't seen you do it, but it's also because we haven't seen a need for you to do it. Not to say that these players now need to, but for the sake of why they're doing it.
And one thing, too, about James, he wouldn't do that because he's the type of player who chases records. He
travels.
He's like a professional Guinness Book record chaser for the NBA.
For the most travels in a single game.
Like those people who are just trying to get into the Guinness Book of Records. And that's why I think he and his new best friend, his new old best friend, Westbrook, reunited.
Yeah, I got you.
Record chasers. So no, he couldn't take a game off because of that, because he's trying to become the most points score before a certain age, or trying to make a case for another MVP, and just stuff like that. Like he wants to. So that's why he's not going to do that, because his ego won't let him. I guess you can see what I think.
I noticed that you didn't acknowledge that what I said. The record he's really chasing is the most travels in a single game without being called. I don't care what anybody says. That whack step back that he's doing is a travel. Blow the whistle. Yeah. He is taking 2 steps and there is no dribble on the floor. That is not a step back. That's a.
Hey, you remember that when Houston played Miami last year, and his travel was so egregious. Remember they had he was stepping back all the way to the airport, all the way.
Yeah.
All the way.
I do. People kept taking him and yeah. It's really funny too, because I do that all the time, like around friends, like people that I know who are sports fans and they know what I'm talking about. I'll just randomly start, and they know exactly. I'm doing the James Harden. I'm just going. Yeah, it's taking 3 steps. Get out of here. They never call that.
Yeah,
travel.
Right.
I saw one of
Oh,
Dwayne
yes.
Wade's oldest kid. He was teaching him how to do it. And I'm like, Zaire, I'm like, don't do that, dude. Don't do that.
Oh,
Especially not, and you were in high school, they about to blow the whistle on you all the time.
all
In
the
high school,
time.
college too. You only getting away with that mess in
Even though the
the
NBA
NBA,
is
so
making
don't
a
do it.
point of calling travels more often this year, I've seen that. But Kim, you have something to share with us. Didn't you go and see a professional?
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I did. I almost forgot. We're in the NBA segment. Hence, this is my souvenir cup
Ooh.
because I know, I went to the Hornets game, but really
Yes,
I
do
went to the
tell.
Pelicans game. Yes, I went to the Pelicans game to go and see the Brotherhood that I told you all I'm an honorary member of, that they're unaware. I know, they're unaware. Anyway, I had I went to the game, some super dope seats, courtside, so I got to really see the Duke players, the other players too, but the Duke players up close and personal.
Mm-hmm.
One of my absolute favorites being JJ Redick. Shout out to JJ.
Hey,
I have been like stupid super fan since he played at Duke.
mm-hmm.
And I remember in college, I don't know if you remember this or not, Nevette, when we tented out, so
Mm-hmm.
his jersey got retired while we were
Yes,
tenting,
yes,
and
I do.
we were out
Ceremony,
we
yeah,
were out in Cave, and
yeah.
they had some kind of raffle giveaway or something. And the very last ticket they pulled was mine. And they gave me like, what was it? College 2K or 2K7. Tell you how old we are. College 2K7. And I know. And it was for a Nintendo. Gosh, what platform was it? I can't even remember. I didn't have the platform, whatever it was, but JJ was on the cover. I hear it. I'm gonna speak real fast.
Yeah, no, this is a good
JJ was
start.
on the cover. I was like, I'm gonna take it and see if I can take it to the game, and he'll see it and sign it. And of course, he didn't see me. We weren't that far up. We had
Mm-hmm.
pretty good seats, but he didn't see me. But it's so crazy. Full circle. Got to go to the game. Ended up landing this little pass where you can stay and hang out in the players' family section. And so they come out and see people. And so JJ was there to go speak to his family. And after I went up to him, asked him if he'd take a picture. He was super dope, super nice, and took a picture with me. And so
Yeah,
#dreams do come
yes, and I
true.
saw the
And the
picture,
fact,
so it's real.
it's real. Yeah. The fact that I could just formulate words, I'm just going to count that as a win because I was on the inside freaking out because I'm such a huge fan. So it
Yeah.
was a good time. But shout out also to Brandon Ingram, who's from the 2-5, which is where I'm from. And so I got to see him, his parents who go to church with my parents back
Look,
home. So I
look,
also got to see him. Yeah, little plug. But he's playing phenomenal
he
basketball
is.
right
I'm
now. I'm
so
so
happy
happy
for
for him.
him.
He's playing really, really well. So can't mention my love for JJ and not mention the hometown hero. So
That's right. Yeah.
yes, I had such a good time. And JJ is real, and he
He's,
touched me.
why does it sound like an intro to like some type of R&B song? He's real. He touched me.
Yes. It might be. It might be. Maybe we need to lay down a track, have that be our new intro music.
Okay.
I got
And people
yeah.
like,
What is this? Yeah, we need to change the words though.
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we'll figure out what to do with that.
All right. So
Anyways, was that our timer?
yeah, that was our timer.
Dang.
I know.
Well, maybe we'll just throw these things out there, just give people some things to think about. Steph Curry, whether or not he's going to be out for the season, as we know, he had the broken hand, had surgery, and they said they were going to reevaluate February, but there've been some news reports saying that
He won't
he's
come
just
back
not
at
going to
all.
come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think, might not be a bad thing. Because I'm like, why put him out there when you're
don't risk it. You're not gonna win anything.
Don't risk it, right? He can get a worse injury. He might end up tearing something in like his ACL, and you might have him not have for the next year. So
or remember KD, right?
Yeah. So
and back from that quad injury, or excuse me, calf injury, and then ruptured his Achilles, and you just really is so fragile. You have no idea.
Yeah, so I'm like, don't do it. And then next year they're gonna have like the number 1 draft pick. So just imagine the number 1 draft pick and Clay and Steph and Dre on the same floor. I mean, like next year's gonna be crazy for the Warriors.
Yeah, for real.
Good.
Yeah, super lit, for real. And then the last thing that just to kind of throw out there, Gordon Hayward injured again, same thing. things, broken hand, I believe, hand, wrist.
It's a hand, a
The
fracture
hand.
in his hand.
Yep. So he's going to be out for a while, but just kind of the whole thing. People are saying like the Boston curse, right? It's been tough for him to stay healthy since he's been in Boston. After all the hype, he got paid. He got a big check to come over, right? And started out with Kyrie, thinking there was going to be something there. He gets hurt. They never really play together. Kyrie's gone, but now you got Kemba. Jason Tatum stepped up and has been playing better. And Gordon Hayward, I believe, late last week just had like a 30-some-odd point game. I mean, he was balling out for real. Yeah. But now he's been sidelined again, so I'm sure that's frustrating for him. Yeah. But we'll kind of have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we did it, sort of. Yeah. I ran us over. My love for JJ got us distracted. That's my fault. But it's hard for me to speak briefly about my homie, JJ.
About your homie, right? You guys are so close.
Yeah, my shoulder was up against him.
It was. You were tucked.
I was tucked. And you like how it made in the picture, it looks like I'm not that much shorter than him.
It does.
Clearly, we were on different levels.
Clearly. Okay, I was like, is it
what's going on?
JJ?
Yeah, no. We were on the like the walkway going up to the seat. Mm-hmm. And he had walked past, and he was like, "Oh, there you are. I need to take a picture with you," because I'd asked him earlier. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. He was so nice because I had asked him, and he said, "Well, wait just a second, hold on," because he was talking to his family, and I thought he was going to forget, and I didn't want to bother him, so I was like, "Oh, it's okay," And then he was like, "Oh, there you are. I was looking for you." Yeah. He was so nice. He was like, "I was looking for you," and so he comes back up, and so I'm up here, and he's like a step or two lower. Mm-hmm. So it looks like we're close in height. Fake news. We are not. I'm not 6'4", in case anyone was wondering.
No, okay. Next.
This is your hot topic.
All right. College football.
Let's hear about it.
Yeah. So, of course, the Bama LSU game, which was not that far from me, occurred. And the ending lived up to the hype. The beginning, I was very much so disappointed in Alabama. Like, I've never seen an Alabama team that was so unprepared in my life. Well, in my college football viewing life. And it was like, kind of like, I'm like, is Nick Saban still coaching this? I mean, the mistakes were just piling up. It was like they would just had their own stack of manure in the corner of all the mistakes. They were just piling up there, and it was ridiculous. Like if not for those mistakes, they probably could have won the game, because everyone keeps saying that Alabama allowed 48 points, but LSU allowed 42 points. I can't remember the final score right off my head. But, I mean, so one extra score, which I don't know what would happen if the ball had popped out of Tua's little arm on the first drive of the game, which they were just moving like grease, like down the field until he did that. And so, I mean, if it weren't for all those mistakes, where were they mentally? It was quite ridiculous. And so, I mean, but they couldn't get a stop to save their life, when they needed it. So when people talk about Alabama and do they deserve to be in the top 4, and I mean, from what I saw on Saturday, I don't think their defense is up to it to make the stop, because even though they made so many mistakes in the first half, and most of them were self-inflicted, I do think you have to give LSU some credit for that as well, just because they baited them into a lot of those mistakes. So right now, and then of course Penn State lost as well, lost to Minnesota, and I did see that game as well, and I was never sold. I was really quite shocked that Penn State made it to the top 4. I guess they gave them the nod.
I was going to ask you about that, because I know that you and I had talked. It was right after the Duke game that it came out. So you and I were still talking, and we both were pretty surprised by the ranking. And to your point about the LSU-Alabama game, maybe some of that too was LSU coming out with a bit of a chip on the shoulder.
Oh,
just thinking that they had been
They were recruiting Alabama recruits in the stands after the game, talking ain't too late to I'm like, dang, bold.
Yeah, right.
You got Coach O in the middle of on the Alabama logo talking about this is our house. I'm like, y'all okay. So y'all know they try to play them again, like maybe later on this year. I mean, like that's a lot of talk,
Yeah, so don't,
because even though they played,
don't fuel the fire.
Even though they played like doo-doo the first half of the game, I mean they did come back on and they scored like 21 straight points on y'all, and then Tua was finding his groove, and so you have to give that some. I mean, take that into consideration that Tua wasn't quite at his best. He was rusty in the first half, finding his groove in the second. I mean, he played with a lot of heart. But pretty much it's going to be on Joe's eyes, Heisman to lose from this point out. But yeah, and then so Penn State, they lost to Minnesota, and once again. So I was surprised that Penn State made it to the 4th spot ahead of Clemson, because just based off what the committee was looking at, they gave Ohio State the number 1 spot pretty much based on the eye test. Like they said, oh, just based on looking at this team, they're the best team in college sports. Like there's no, but I mean, most people would say that LSU had a harder run to get to where they were at that point in time. So, but so if that's the case, if the eye test, they're going to say that Penn State, just by the eye test, and Penn State was better than Clemson. And I cannot agree with that. I don't think that's the case. And I think they showed it when they lost to Minnesota. And so a lot of people are still overlooking Clemson, saying that we're going to get like a 2 SEC team or 2 Big Ten team into the college football playoffs, and everyone's really overlooking Clemson. But you're going to tell me if Clemson runs the table, wins the ACC championship, and pretty much dials out the rest of their competition, you're not going to put them into the playoffs? So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I think the most shocking thing for me when the top 4 came out was the fact that Penn State was in it and Clemson wasn't. So I don't know if that's 2 shocking things, or you kind of say maybe they swapped places in some regard. I think, like you're saying, I think I personally had some issues with the order, but I think, in my opinion, it was clear who the top 4 should have been. Now you can argue back and forth about who's 1, who's 2, who's 3, who's 4. But right, but my opinion were the top 4 were Alabama, LSU, Clemson, and help me. Ohio State.
Yeah.
Sorry, how could I forget? All the Ohio State fans going to come for me now.
But I don't know. I mean, Ohio State, they should be scared, because no team that has ever been like the first, that comes out as the number 1 team in the rankings like the first week, has ever won it. Like,
yeah, so it sounds like look, maybe Clemson's in a good spot then for people overlooking, but I agreed with the 3 of the 4, and I thought Clemson should have been there instead of Penn State. And then what do they do? Oh yeah, let's go out and lose to Minnesota. I mean, and Minnesota played a good game. I watched.
They came ready. They were ready.
Yeah, they were, and I was able to watch most of it before I had to leave to head to the game to see.
Did you see
my best friend JJ? But
on Minnesota's scoreboard, they had like the gopher, like the mean gopher, like
yeah.
So when
if my school's mascot was a gopher,
right? Yeah,
I would do that all the time. That's great. Yeah.
So when Penn State kicking
one.
like the extra points or whatever, they had to go like. I was like, that's too funny.
Yeah, that's why. See, that's the thing. That's why I couldn't play like college sports and stuff. I get so distracted by that kind of stuff. I'd be like, what? I'll be out there laughing.
The coach on the side like, Kim.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, my bad, coach. I'm here. Hey, coach, you see that gopher? Yeah, so that's why it's probably
like, coach, you see that ghost?
Yeah, that ghost. Oh, Sam Darnold. Coach, I'm out here seeing ghosts. It don't matter anyway. Look at the gopher. Poor Sam Darnold. Was that our bell?
It was.
Did I hear it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know what? We did well with that one. That hit, a lot of what we what we have planned to kind of discuss. So we'll just move it right along and transition to the NFL. And I know we wanted to spend quite a bit of time, because there's quite a bit of time that deserves to be spent talking about Lamar Jackson and the phenomenal things that he's doing. I'll start by saying this. He is unlike, I feel like, a player that I've ever seen. I think we've seen some quarterbacks that have the ability to run the ball. The one that comes to mind is Michael Vick, maybe the closest comparison.
He was the precursor.
Yeah, but he is really making some noise with what he's doing. Particularly, there was a 40, 50-yard run that he did this past weekend, and he takes off. So he gets this big gaping hole in the line, and he takes off. He makes one defender miss with a little juke kind of, and then he does another stutter step, spins backwards around.
Yeah,
and the two other defenders, he psychs them out, and then he just kind of goes. And at that point, he's beat everybody else that's out there. And he's doing some things that I feel like we just have not seen in a very long time, and doing it at a very high level.
Yeah.
And I saw a post that ESPN had posted, and they were just comparing him to some of the top quarterbacks that you think, the seasoned quarterbacks. So comparisons to people like Tom Brady and to Drew Brees, Pat Mahomes, and just talking about the amount of starts that he has, with the amount of wins that he has, his passer rating, his QBR, all these sorts of things. And he is blowing those people out of the water with where his numbers are. So he is so much fun to watch, and Baltimore is really making a name for themselves and a statement moving forward. Oh yeah. I mean, their defense, and they've, for the last few years at least, but pretty much always, right, it's been a hard-nosed type of defensive team. Now you have years that they're better than others, of course, absolutely. You have the years that they're better than others, but they've always been more so, I feel like, defensively strong, as opposed to being concerned about their offense. And so he's really, and of course, you had my boy Wacko.
I knew you could not help yourself.
I can't resist an opportunity to talk about Wacko Flacco.
I'm like, Kim, not to pass that up. You did not.
I can't help it. But I know, Super Bowl and all that kind of stuff. So I know they've had some good years, but they are looking very, very good. And with what they have in him, it seems it's tough to even plan for.
Yeah,
because
no,
yeah, exactly.
What he's gonna do. I don't think he doesn't.
You
know.
Don't.
It's just natural.
It's natural. Yep. And you saw him.
Instincts.
Yeah, he made the Patriots look foolish. I mean, a defense that people have been talking about. Now, mind you,
I was just talking about last episode.
Yeah, we were just talking about them, and a lot of people have been talking about them because they've been playing so well. Again, different maybe caliber team than Baltimore, but still, when you talk about, even if you are playing bad teams in the league and nobody's scoring at all, that still speaks to having a very strong defensive front, and they couldn't do anything with him. This past weekend, couldn't do anything with him. So it'll be interesting moving forward to see how it goes. You always have the concern, quarterback running a lot. That means you get hit a lot.
Yes.
So that can make you a
Robert
little nervous.
Third, RG3.
RG3 is probably the biggest one. He was, I think, supposed to be the type of player that Lamar Jackson is, and we never got to see it because
he didn't know how to slide.
There we go. We never got to see it because his entire career was hurt. So you never got to see what it is, and it was. So hopefully, prayerfully, that kind of thing doesn't happen to Lamar Jackson, because I'm excited to watch him play and to continue doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
Because.
And you can see he's working to keep his body strong, because I'm like, his neck is.
Yeah, it's almost like a running back type. You know what I mean? Like just the thickness.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was
right here.
I'm like, dang boy, you been in
those traps back there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had some other teams go down that we had talked about, because we talked about the Flossy and Glossy list, and a couple of the teams that we had talked about that were on it lost. So the Patriots lost to Lamar Jackson and that group, and then the Saints just lost.
They laid a big egg.
Yeah, very badly to what had otherwise looked like a horrible Falcons team.
Yeah,
Horrible Falcons.
and I don't think they realized the Saints that they were playing a division rival. I mean, like, even though like the team is bad, like you still have to respect the rivalry. People will get up for the rivalry, and just to be like, oh, even though we're not going to do anything this season, we want to make sure that we can ruin your season as much as we can. So
Absolutely.
I think they overlooked that fact, and just I don't know, like it's like they weren't prepared. Like they laid Alabama, in the first half of Alabama in that game. They never
recovered was the thing.
Recovered. Like I was for sure that they were going to make up the difference in the second half. Like, oh, this is first half. They're going to come out in the second half, and they did not score at all.
Yes. So. Yep. I was the same way. I just knew that it was going to be a different story. You know, you go in halftime, you shake that off, put it behind you, and then you have the seasoned Drew Brees who can lead you down the field, and he has great receivers and the running back core, and I mean, so the great things that they're such a great offensive team that you just thought that they would do something, and nope, didn't happen. And I don't think we ever.
Did the defense forget that Julio Jones played for the Falcons? Because
I guess so. I don't know what they were. I don't know what they were doing. I have no words.
Because I love me
no
Julio.
answer.
I don't think there's a receiver out there better than him. I don't think he gets enough props for being who he is.
And does it quietly, right?
Yeah.
One of those like super talented players that doesn't cause a bunch of scene or all the drama surrounding.
And then once again, when the Falcons lost the Super Bowl, I mean, it sounds like people just count. I don't know. That especially in that game, he had such a magnificent game in the Super Bowl. Julio did, like, anyway. If it wasn't for miscoaching at the end of the game, Julio had iced the game for them with that last catch. And I just can't. I think about it, and I was like, it should have went down in NFL history, but. It went the other way because they didn't run the ball, and they didn't. I mean, run the ball at the end. Okay, and so let's talk about the Rams. How about the Rams? Like, who would have known they were this type of season?
Let me tell you what, the Rams let me down this week. Well, I say that they let me down. It's still yet to be determined. Cooper Kupp is on my fantasy team, and he had been doing great things for me. Goose egg yesterday.
Yeah.
Didn't even have a reception. I didn't even get like 0.1, not even like a single yard, nada. The Rams have looked very shaky almost all of the season. I mean, the first few games, I guess they opened up fine, if my memory serves correct. But after that, it's been pretty much a bust. And even the games that they squeak out and win, they're not comfortable. Mm-hmm. And it's the very much, are they going to, are they not? And it's not always because of things that they're doing right. It's things that the team they're playing is doing wrong some of the time. So, I think after last season, going to the Super Bowl, I think everyone thought that, and keeping the bulk of what they had, I think everyone thought that it was going to be close to a repeat in the success that they had, and it just has not been the case.
I think for even like Super Bowl contending teams, like even in the offseason, you have to do something to make a change, even if it's a small change. You just can't keep running back the same because the team gets complacent, and then everybody else has pretty much caught on to what you were doing, So
exactly.
So like everyone's talking about, oh, Sean McVay is the wonder kid of football. Like he got about 2 or 3 people hired in the offseason because they had some kind of connection to him. Like he had that type of mystique about him. And now this year it's looking like, the rest of the league has figured out Sean McVay. And I think it's also goes to that they didn't try to do anything to change their offense, anything to change their personnel in the offseason. Like, I mean, you just can't run it back and expect the same. Like, that's what happened when the Heat and when they lost, like when they got the second back-to-back against the Spurs, they ran back the same team, and like they were just running on the same old legs. And you can't do stuff like that. You have to keep running. I don't know. Keep it fresh. How about that? Keep it fresh.
I'm laughing. Keep it fresh and keep it flossy. I'm laughing at you talking about.
Keep it glossy.
Keep it glossy. Yeah, I'm laughing because you said running on the same old legs.
Oh
That is
yeah.
funny to me. That just tickled me. You were still talking. You didn't even see me over here. I was just chuckling. That got me tickled. Oh man. Okay, so I heard the timer, but I'm just going to throw this out real quick at the end because I can't move on without talking about the Browns.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
It's kind of like the wacko flacco thing. I just can't let it go. So a couple things happened this past week. And you mentioned the Sam Darnold, I'm out here seeing ghosts. And I think these two things are worse than him saying that. First is Mitch Trubisky in the press conference talking about all the negativity from the news heads and saying that they need to turn the televisions off in the locker room. And I mean, I can agree with the fact that when you hear a lot of negative things, it can kind of get into your mind and soak in, and you don't want to see the negative or hear the negativity. But don't announce that to the world, right? Because it just says that it's getting to you. Like you're admitting to people that this is becoming a problem. I can't focus on my game plan because all I hear is the negativity surrounding our team. So I need to turn the televisions off. And that's fine. If that's your truth, I ain't got no problem with that, Mitch. But don't tell everybody. I mean, you know that they're asking these questions. You made the conscious decision to share that with the media, which means sharing it with me. And here I am.
It just came out.
I think he knew what he was doing a bit. Because he went into a lot of detail about it.
Once you start, you got to keep going.
You just keep going. That's fair. That's fair. He said, well, I already said it. I'll just let it roll now. So that, and probably though, I would say worse, coming in first, flossing in last place, I guess. I said coming in first, but flossing in last place. For me, is going to be sound bit from our boy, Baker Mayfield, who after the loss last week, so during the game, he had the handlebar mustache.
Yes.
After the loss and before he went to the press conference, he shaved the most of it and just had the mustache.
Yes.
So he shaved all this and just had the mustache. And so, of course, they asked him a question about it. His response being that he had shaved his beard to the handlebar because the last time they won and they had a good run, that's what he had. And then they lost when he had that. So he said, I didn't deserve to wear it. Why is this a problem, Baker? This is a problem because it says to me that you can't figure out how to win football games by actually watching film and figuring out what you're doing wrong and getting scouting reports on your opponents. And instead, I won a game. Oh, my facial hair. Surely that'll fix the problem. Now, they did win, but it wasn't because of this past weekend, but it wasn't because of the facial hair. But maybe that's what he thinks. Yeah, exactly. So that I guess the point is, it's back to what we had said about him, about just looking like he just does not know what's going on, being confused, not believing. If you put more faith in your facial hair than your talent and the group working around you, then you're in a very bad place. And I think that's worse than in real live action saying, I'm seeing ghosts. So I think I'd rather Sam Darnold see ghosts than my quarterback say, I need to fix my facial hair. Then we'll win, coach. Put me in. I'm ready. I got my mustache. I got my mustache, coach. I'm ready. We're going to win.
Yeah. And tonight, just to so people know, we are recording on Monday night, and we do have Monday Night Football, which is going to be a really good game, I think, between the Seahawks and the 49ers. So, so my brother is a really big 49ers fan because of Jerry Rice, who's from the Mississippi area. And when I was last episode, I said that the 49ers, we don't know if they're real or not. And he was like, what are you talking about? The 49ers are real. Anyway, so we will see tonight. So next time we talk, we come back on episode 3. Hopefully we'll go live in episode 3. We'll see really if the 49ers are real. But I know we wanted to talk about some things that we saw going on in like the world of sports and women's basketball. Like there was a really big headline over the weekend because Oregon beat Team USA in a scrimmage. Well, I guess it was an exhibition game, but come on, like Kim, what's going on here with Team USA?
Yeah. I mean, Team USA is obviously still really good. I mean, they're always winning, much like the men's team up until this last this last go around, the men's USA team didn't win, but Team USA women's team is similar to that in that they almost always win. And I think they're still there. Oregon has a good group, a strong group that they're bringing back from last year. And so they put the number one team in the country, and they played like the number one team in the country. Sabrina
in the world
is yes, she is really good. And they had two other players, I think between the three combined for like 73 points. I mean, so when you have that kind of offensive efficiency, you're in a good spot, and that consistency from them. But I will say that Team USA was understaffed, if you will. Elena Deladon, who's MVP from the WNBA, she wasn't playing. Asia Wilson was a Rookie of the Year a couple years ago. She wasn't playing. Maya Moore, it took a year off. I think she's been doing some sports and analysis stuff. She wasn't playing. So you had some people who weren't out there, but still, I think there's, I think it's still kind of surprising because as comfortable as the win was. I read a stat that said the last time or the only other time that this had happened was back in 99. And I can't remember what college team it was, but they only won by 1 point.
Was it the Vols?
This was it may have been. Yes, actually, I think you're right. They lost by 1 that year. It was more of a comfortable win. I believe it was a 9 or 10 point win. So, I think there's a little bit to be said about that. Even though you didn't have some of your best talent, the fact that the college team was able to beat you by 9, I think is still pretty impressive. But Team USA is fine, and Oregon is obviously very fine, better than fine. Oregon is super glossy. That's
super glossy. Gloss. Oh my gosh, they're shiny. Right?
Apply once and you're good to go. That's what they got going on right now.
Their lip gloss is
oh yeah, little mama.
But then I think too what it says about the state of women's basketball in America is a big statement. Because you have whole countries out there who can't beat Team USA in basketball, but you have here a college team. So this is one of many that, had the opportunity to go out there and play and actually come out with a win. And it just shows that the big difference between women's basketball here in America and between the world if we have a college team who could beat our Team USA, which even though they worked like undermanned, like you said, they still should have won. They're professionals, and I guess next year Sabrina will be a professional. But
exactly, and they'll have her, so that'll help.
Right.
I agree.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think
and then the last thing we kind of wanted to. Yeah, I do too. Last thing we kind of want to wrap up with, we've been talking a little bit about women's soccer and our women's national team, and they haven't been in the news as much since the World Cup finished up over USA. And today we're recording, you'll see it on Wednesday, but since we said that, I would like to just give a second and say Happy Veterans Day. Thank you to all the troops who have served, who continue to serve, and who protect us and keep us safe. So thank you for your service and all that you do. But in talking about the women's national team, a couple of months after the World Cup was over, Carly Lloyd basically came out with the changing of the guards, and they have a new coach now. And basically said that she was unhappy with her amount of playing time in the World Cup and that she wasn't starting because she believes that she's worked hard enough and earned the role of being a starting player on that squad. And then just something, that my thoughts about that were, I agree with her that she has, but I know that they also have a lot of young talent that's coming out of the country and from the different professional teams and from college teams, because we got some super young talent, right? I mean, you got some teenage, like 18, 19-year-old players who are on that team. And so I think there's something to be said about the transition and how you do it and when you do it, for sure. What do you think?
Well, yes. I mean, of course, Carly is going to go down as one of the greats of in U.S. soccer, and in soccer period on an international level for women's football. Football. She's going to go down as one of the greats. I mean, she's just that capable. I mean, we all saw what she did with those field goal kicks when she went to practice for the Eagles. Like, look,
Oh
that's
yeah.
it, you know. And she's just so good. Like she can always find a way to score. And I appreciate where she's coming from, because as she said, she's worked hard, but so has everyone else. And like, we have such a talented group of young players in period, like the depth chart just to make it to Team USA is crazy. Like,
Yeah.
but then you have to keep molding and shaping and have the next generation prepared to lead in the future, because like Carly's not going to play in the next World Cup, probably not because of her age, and who knows about Alex Morgan or Megan Rapinoe at that time, but so you have to make sure that you have the next group ready to go, and the rest of the world is catching up with Team USA in soccer. Like, so it won't be as easy. And I understand it was easy last time or the times before that, because there was a big gap in years where we didn't win at all. But so it's going to get even more competitive. So I think they have to keep making sure that the younger generation is ready to take that stage. And I mean, I think Carly, she played her role well when and I know it's hard to transition from being like the Golden Cup winner to being a role player. So I can understand that completely, but I feel like, if that's the way, but I guess you couldn't tell by the way she was playing that she felt that way, but I guess you could assume, because, what superstar wouldn't have some, feel some type of way about that. But I completely understand where she's coming from, but I also see the other side where like it's so, like so many people coming up, like you have Rose, who was a breakout player, and I guess they were just trying to navigate all the different pieces they had, and they don't have so much playing time to go. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Like right now, they
Yeah, I think it's
between coaches, so we'll see.
yeah, and I think it is tough. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think it's tough too. And I just think, and I've said this to you before, earlier, Nevette, I just think if this was LeBron and he's still playing the caliber of basketball where he's at his best, do you put someone in his spot? And you wouldn't. I mean, there was no one who would ever replace him if he's actually playing well.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that she is one of the top few household names when you talk about women's soccer.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have all of this rising talent. I completely agree. But I'm also a kind of a huge supporter of they'll get their opportunity because she is getting older. But if she is good enough, and it looks like she is, because with all these international friendly matches that they're having right now, she's the one that's stepping up and scoring. And you pointed out Alex Morgan is on maternity leave currently. And so they need more offense from her than maybe
Mm-hmm.
they don't have to require of her when Alex Morgan is available.
Mm-hmm.
But I think she's still playing at a very, very high level, to the point that I think she has earned her right to be out there and to be starting. And, starting doesn't mean you play the entire first half and 15 or 20 minutes of the second half. I mean, it can look very different.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see what she decides to do and how, like you said, the new coach utilizes her and what this means for Team USA moving forward. But you are right in that there's a lot of talent coming behind her. So I think that the team will be, the team will end up being just fine. Of course, she missed the leadership as well.
Yeah.
But
right.
it'll be interesting.
I think their biggest question moving forward is going to be the coach. But yeah, maybe she can be used differently in a different scheme. Who knows? But
we'll see.
That's one of the things. Like they have to get it right with the coach, because even though we have so many talented players, you still in soccer coaching is still it's very much a chess match out there. So
the Olympics are coming.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, we will see. But so yes.
Well, awesome. Look at this. We did it.
I was excited because we made it to the end.
We did it. Yeah, I'm excited too. Well, thank y'all so much for tuning in to episode 2. We've decided that we have a new tagline, which is because Black girls love sports too, right? So we're going to start signing off with that kind of hashtag and float that around on all of our social media outlets. We are getting those up and running. So we'll start, as we learn to do this a lot better, we'll start throwing stuff up on the screen so that everyone has all those social media outlets and can, fingers crossed. I say we'll start. That is the plan. Let me put it that way, as we're learning and growing. But thank you again for the support. I hope you enjoyed episode 2, and look out next week, episode 3 coming in hot. We'll have some more good stuff to talk about for sure.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll be live episode 3. Hopefully.
Yes.
If schedules allow.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed. If schedules allow. Well, I'm going to try not to be the holdup this time. I think I'm good for next week. I think I'm good. Let me go ahead and put it on my calendar before somebody starts asking me to do stuff.
You know, JJ might call and be like, hey, Kim, what's up? What you got going on?
Yeah. No, sorry. I'm busy. Sorry, I'm recording. I'm going live my podcast.
Well, if he calls, you could just say, hey, why would you just pop on to this?
Oh, I would. I'll just message. JJ calls. I'm busy. Sorry, guys. We'll have to see you next Wednesday. JJ's on the phone asking me questions.
I knew it.
I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, thanks, guys, for watching. And don't forget, Black girls love sports, too.
That's right.